Welcome to the Wade Center Podcast,
a podcast of Wheaton College.
Welcome back to the Wade Center Podcast. I'm Jim Beitler, again with Aaron Hill, and we've got a little bit of a bonus episode for you with Dr. Holly Ordway, who is the Cardinal Francis George Professor of Faith and Culture at Word on Fire Institute and visiting professor of apologetics at Houston Christian University. Welcome back to the podcast, Holly.
I'm glad to be back.
So Holly, we had a question for you. There's been a number of adaptations of Tolkien's work in addition to, the Lord of the Rings, and then there was a Hobbit trilogy, and then there's the Amazon series, and then there's plans and talks about future adaptations. Weigh in as a Tolkien expert. What are your thoughts on some of the most recent adaptations and plans for future ones? Where do these things sit with you? What are your thoughts?
Well, I would first say that although they're not recent, they're now classic. I love the Peter Jackson films of The Lord of the Rings.
Yay.
The editions, mind you, the extended editions, I think they're classics. They're not perfect, but they're very, very good. We will not speak of the Hobbit films. They're just... No, and I have not myself seen any of the Amazon series simply because it doesn't interest me.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Sort of like with Tolkien and Narnia, if I don't feel interested in watching it, why should I?
Yes.
But interestingly, I have people sometimes ask me, what would Tolkien think about this? And usually trying to weigh in on, pros or cons, or usually trying to get me to say that he would hate it. But in fact, I think that Tolkien would approve in principle, because he wrote at one point that he envisioned a mythology for England. This is a very famous phrase. But as part of that, he envisioned creating a kind of story landscape in which, as he put it, other minds and hands could work. So he himself had a kind of capacious vision of his legendarium as being like the Arthurian legends, offering an opportunity for other people to write stories, to tell stories in them. And that would include things like filmmaking, which he did see films. We actually know now that he saw The Song of Bernadette, that's in the Revised and Expanded Letters, and found it quite compelling. He then later found fault with some of it, but this is Tolkien being sort of cantankerous, but he was really moved by it.
Yeah.
So I think he would have appreciated using other modes like film, television, games to tell stories in his world. So in principle, I think he would say, go for it. And then the only question would be, was it done well or done badly? I mean, even in his own lifetime, he was approached about film rights, and he was very, very pragmatic. At one point, the Beatles wanted to do a film version of The Lord of the Rings.
I wish we could have gotten that. That would have been so fun.
That would have been fun. And Tolkien was not thrilled with the idea. But as he said very practically to his publisher, I want cash or kudos. Either they do it really, really well according to my stipulations, or they pay me a boatload of money for it. It didn't pan out. But as a working writer myself, I mean, he had 4 children to bring up. I love the practicality that he didn't sit in his high horse and say it must be perfect, or he's like, no, there's a trade-off here. There's a trade-off.
Interesting.
But he was concerned with doing it well if possible. So I think he would have said this is legitimate, but the question is it done well? And I know that one of the provocative things about the Lord of the Rings, about the Amazon Rings of Power series for some people has been the inclusion of sort of more multicultural cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to say that I think that Tolkien would have been completely fine or even approving of that, because for one thing, he was anti-racist before it was cool. He was against apartheid publicly.
Yeah.
And if you actually pay attention to The Lord of the Rings, you'll see that he consistently describes many of the hobbits are darker skinned. He says that very directly I think it's in the prologue, about many of them darker skinned. And Sam is consistently described as being dark-skinned, and not just tan from being a gardener, but he's darker-skinned. And Sam turns out to be the hero of the entire Lord of the Rings. Now, we tend to think of Sam as being lily white because Sean Astin, who plays him in the films, is white. But Tolkien wrote Sam to be dark-skinned.
Interesting.
And so Tolkien has a kind of capaciousness of vision that I think has not been appreciated in that regard. So would he have been fine with more multicultural casting? I think yes. I think he would probably at some level approve. And then he would say, but are they doing it well? Are they doing it artistically in a handling it well? And that's a different question. And I'm not sure that
the story and the characters and the dialogue and
and he probably would have things to say on those.
Do you have a favorite moment from the Peter Jackson original trilogy?
That's a tough question. I think rather than a favorite moment, I would say a favorite element would possibly be the sound. The soundtrack is so fantastic, and he does really get moments like the ride of Rohan is so compelling. That stands out as a moment. But they do create the atmosphere, I think, extremely well.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Holly, for being with us. We're just so grateful for your time. And thanks to all our listeners. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Definitely.
The Wade Center podcast is a production of the Marion E. Wade Center at Wheaton College in Wheaton, Illinois. If you enjoy the podcast and the content we offer, please leave us a review on iTunes, tell your friends, and consider making a donation to the Wade. The Wade Center is entirely self-funded. Financial gifts help support the expert services, vast collections, and varied programming we offer at no cost. If you have questions about the podcast or suggestions for future episodes, please email us at wade@wheaton.edu or contact us via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. To learn more about the Wade Center, our 7 British Christian authors, what we offer, and how to make a donation, visit our website at wheaton.edu/Wade.